What up, everybody? Scuffy here, and we are here to do a deck list for Tylos Rubio. Had a lot of fun with Rubio, both before Keeler was changed and after Keeler was changed. I think the Agents of the Sigillite are a very fun faction that I've been enjoying the last 4 weeks now, maybe 3. I think we might be 3.5 weeks. No, yeah, because we had the raid event. So yeah, it's been 4 weeks. Man, these guys play really well. These guys are just, they strike a nerve for me that I enjoy as a player. It's very Alpha Legion similar, but I like the cerebral game, but I like the combo potential. I like a lot of the playing with other zones other than the board, especially when you're playing with your opponent's mind. But Rubio does a great job at being a mid-range warlord. Malcador has got his own games to play. We'll do a Malcador video somewhere down the road. But Rubio really just is just solid. He's strong. He creates a battle honor. He's got a battle honor, create a seal in your deck. It's a great way to get seals. Pretty straightforward, pretty simple. 1 energy, he creates that psionic fury in your hand, which can be used for so many things. You can use multiples of these in the same turn. 2 energy gives him +2/+0. That's pretty straightforward, pretty basic, right? But it gives him bigger lethal range and game, or it gives him the ability to one-shot a very strong unit with low health, or a very powerful unit with low health, whether it's strong on the attack or not. And then he's got some good support stuff that exists out there. Now, most of the games I played with him, most of the games I played with Rubio, I was lacking still some cards. I did not have Mshen. I still don't have Prometheus or Cerberus. I don't think you need both of those for him necessarily. But not having Mshen isn't really a huge problem for him, because his first couple of turns, kind of really want to use his ability anyways. That's what I've found. So I'm going to show you a game. We'll take a look at the deck, and then we'll show you a couple more games that I've got. Now, the deck has gone through several updates and variations as I was testing different cards. So everything that you see played didn't exactly sit or make it to the final cut. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so this game here, we're going to be facing off against Hibu Khan, which was a nice game. It was a good mix, something you don't get to see a whole lot, but I do want to keep some troops on there to put some pressure on, create some damage on his warlord. His warlord's got the ability to deal damage to himself. He takes a little bit of damage, but if I'm just going to sit back and make psionic furies, I'm still going to be taking essentially a lower return damage than what he's making. So I've got to give him targets that he wants to put his ability and or tactics in hand on. So Kai is not going to survive. That's fine. That's 1 damage that I don't have to take on my warlord, essentially. And that gives me a chance to continue to buy myself some time. You never know what Jukebox is going to give me. I'm going to keep this counterattack for, ideally if I have like a Kel, or I throw a Brewer out there, I want to keep him alive for a little bit. But I find that Rubio's ability to create something for offense at the end game, as well as his battle honor to maybe give you some extra tricks end game, because he's just clearing a troop that he's naturally going to clear anyways, it's just a very strong way to give yourself some tricks, some support, some options that you normally wouldn't have. And because the support cards for the Agents of Sigillite are pretty solid, you get some good stuff. You get some good stuff out of him. Like I said, I think he's a very strong mid-range warlord. Now, in this instance here, I'm getting a seal. I'm putting a second body in. I'm keeping Kel for 1 more turn for the kill shot. But I'm going to make it hard, because if I just wasted the energy, I really wasn't going to be able to follow up with anything else on my turn, and I want to follow up with it. 5 free energy is very nice. Even if he doesn't have a troop on the board, like this is going to be a battle honor right here with my warlord, and then I can just put 5 damage on his warlord for 1 energy, and then throw down another troop if I want to, or just keep the troop and throw down 3, and then keep this pressure on for the next turn. The downside to the Agents of the Sigillite cards is a lot of their stuff is stealthy. And a lot of their stealthy stuff is 3 health, which makes them very susceptible to a lot of things. Defensive satellites, Joker Company, Peltists, Secretary Peltist squads, etc., as well as warlords who can do some random damage, or damage distributed between 1 or 2 units. So you do want to try to force the setup as best as possible. To make your opponent kind of have to respond to whatever it is that you've got. I want to get card draw, so that's why I'm like, I'd rather get the card draw over the battle owner in that instance there. And we're still kind of evenly matched. Now, if he throws down like a targetized sacrifice, he's going to eat a whole lot, but otherwise he's going to throw down some tactics. I saw 3 cards that he has in hand, so I know he's going to have to play one of them. And baiting out a flanker, baiting out really anything with covert, getting to see 3 cards in their hand, even if you know that they're not going to play them for 2 or 3 turns. Sometimes I'll have a covert risk discovery, as it were, by sitting on the table for 4, 5, 6 turns. It really presses your luck, but at the same time, it's a mind game to your opponent, because then they're like, okay, I haven't played these other 2 cards that were in my hand at the time. Is it worth the risk? If 5 damage early on doesn't seem like a whole heck of a lot, but 5 damage in the situation we've got here, where he's only got 10 health, that's the game. That's all there is to it. So yeah, it's very simple. It's very simple. The troops do work, the warlord does work, and then the extra benefit of whatever the tactics, the seals that are created by the warlord, can kind of come in a pinch. It's not something that you rely on, but it is something that is nice when it happens. So let's take a look at the deck as I have it right now. And again, not all the cards that are in the replays made it into the deck. Some of these cards might still get changed, but some I've had enough success with that I feel comfortable with the deck as it is. Well, I do have 1 Relic of Old Knight. I find it useful to be able to draw a little extra, and I'm not giving my opponent any draw. I'm only getting 1 card back, but my opponent's getting no cards. And because Rubio can create a Psionic Fury, I essentially have got a free way to throw an extra card back into my deck and draw 2 cards. I might get that Psionic Fury back, but I don't have to like lower my hand any. My hand is actually going up for 2 energy. 1 from my ability, 1 from the Relic of Old Knight. I get 2 cards. It's very nice. You usually want to use that once you've seen a couple seals get generated or added to your deck. Command Bridge is another great way to get a seal. Just go get it. Just make sure that you've got some low tactics in there, and 1 energy, boom, it's yours. Kaiser Lane is just in here for card creation and giving you some additional options. Very, very simple, very straightforward. Malkador's Circle is in here as well. These guys are just a solid front line. If you can get them out their first turn and you happen to have the counterattack, you throw that on there. It is a card that your opponent has to deal with, or this card is just going to get continuously stronger as a 2 energy troop. Very good troop. Now I had Keeler, Euphrates Keeler in the deck here too, and she was very nice in helping, do what she was doing. I've kept her out of it. Now I could put her back in. Her ability isn't terrible, but the way I would like to play them, as I have it, I have a lot of stealth troops on the unit in this deck. So having Euphrates Keeler give frontline to a stealth troop doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So I took her out. Crucial Choice made its way in because Crucial Choice got better. M. Shen got added to the deck. I do keep Melgator in here just for odds and ends, and sometimes you can play a covert operative. Your opponent can trigger your covert operative, and then instead of you attacking with your covert operative, you can bounce your covert operative and play him again. Now, that's a little bit tech. Usually what I like to do, and what most people will do, is covert operative, and then you follow that up with, the Sigillite's Chosen, and you've got yourself a very strong, third turn play, essentially. Jubok is in there very good. Tallyman, as you saw, lets me draw troops. Hidden War, because the faction itself lacks hard removal, and just being able to change that troop to a 1, combos well with the Tallyman as well as with Bror Tearfinger. And then Manifest Destiny is very important for him because he's mid-range, because sometimes he's going to attack. It's good to have that in there for the additional health. It's not always necessary, but it's good. And then for closers, really, I've got both Ganymus and Calexis Assassin. Now, there are a couple other ways that you can go about this. You certainly can, and some do, and I've done it once, but it's like, it's more combo-y than I would want to run him. I want to run him as a mid-range. But if you roll out with Orders from Terra, and then you throw just even one for 6 energy, he's a 4 attack for 6 energy. Now you're doing 8 because he can attack. He can act a second time. If you throw down a second one, then for 8 energy, you're doing 12. It's very similar to the Sigismund deck that I had showcased a couple 2 months ago. But it's different because it's a different faction, and these are cards that he's creating from his hand. The reason I took it out, as I said, is because really I want my troops to do most of the work, and I want Rubio to be an optional finisher. He doesn't have to be the finisher himself. If he's the finisher himself, then I'm putting all my eggs in that basket, and I have to suffer on the troop front. Something has got to come out. I'd rather keep it troop heavy and let Rubio do the work as he needs to. Sigillite Chosen is very powerful, very nice. Your opponents are going to expect it, but at the same time, when it works, it works. And the rest of the cards really just kind of support well. Emshen isn't always useful, but Gaze of the Regent, locking down your opponent to give them can attack, can be. Sometimes Covert Operative's ability doesn't trigger, but just the threat that it will trigger can be pretty nice. So let's take a look at a couple more games, and then I'll give you some options as far as some other cards that maybe you can consider including, or cards that I did use, and either why I chose to take them out, or how I felt that they fit in there, because there's some that are still on the list of like maybe I'd try it out again. Okay, so this deck here, we're going to be facing off against a Saul Tarvitz. Always keep Covert Operative. I'm going to toss Command Bridge because I don't have anything that I'm going to really be generating. I want troops. If I've got Covert Operative, I also, in my opening hand, I also want to increase the chances of getting Sigillite Chosen. So I'll take it. Calexis Assassin has actually worked fairly well in some games for Rubio. It doesn't work well with other decks. I don't know if you're going to see him in use this game or not. But just as a one-of, sometimes it's a very nice threat. So here we are. We're forcing him now. If he doesn't have the, which he does, he's got to play it. He doesn't have any other choice. So you have to play that on anything else. And that's okay, because that's going to leave me free energy to throw down the Covert Operative, get a little peek at his hand. And so I see this here. Tells me all I need to do. Anytime with Covert Operative you see the anti-stealth, you pick the anti-stealth because you're guaranteed he's going to play it. But also seeing that defense force and that tactical brilliance. This is a Desperate Defense Saul. Even after Desperate Defense was nerfed, I was still facing Desperate Defense decks. So you can still face them. You can still see them. They still exist. So knowing that my clock is ticking, I put down some strength on the board, try to do as much damage as possible. I'm not going to bide my time. I'm not going to bother creating too many psionic furies. Let's just do damage. Let's make some stuff happen. If we get any of the can't attacks or shields health, those are going to be key. Perfect way. I'll do it. Get rid of him. I'd rather do 5 damage there, 2 damage with my Warlord, and then I can relic away the Calexis, because I've only got 3 cards in my hand, and maybe draw something better. Both of those cards are going to come in very handy, as well as a second Covert, because his hand is small, and because he's playing predictable deck, it's going to be a lot easier to punish him for certain choices, and I'm okay making that punishment happen. So far, he can bounce my stealth guy. I can just have to worry about hitting his face. He's going to take the tactical runs because odds are likely he's going to play it on his next turn. And this isn't a matter of, overpowered cards. We don't see Keeler. You're not going to see Keeler in my replays. I don't know if you won't see Sigillite's Chosen in one of my games. Really, it's just a matter of the troops doing the job that they need to do. And Rubio being pretty well done on his end. I think when I saw that ship, I was miscounting how many troops I had on board, so I was a little surprised. Now, Orbital Siege is one card that I was testing out here, and I do have to say, the idea behind it was to create the Psionic Furies and then use Orbital Siege as a way to destroy all troops, because, it's nice to have a board clear. But I found that I never used it, and then the one time that I did, it really didn't benefit me because I had a couple stealth troops that I wanted to use. So I tweaked that card out. So, talking about Khorne's favored, or favor of Khorne, Khorne's favored? Khorne's chosen. Khorne's chosen? Yeah, Khorne's chosen. Here's Kharn. Here's a Kharn deck for you. This is before Khorne's chosen was added to the game. However, I don't think that would change much how I would play this at all. It's still a very tight game. However, when you're facing a aggressive deck, you try to be as defensive / aggressive as you possibly can. So I'm just going to turtle up what I can. I know the damage I can deal out, as long as I can survive, as long as the pings go relatively well for me, or at least moderately stacked, I guess, in terms of, as long as we're distributed, we're not super unfair. Yeah, super unfair pings would not be good, but right now we're even Steven. 29-29, the game is tight. He's got a lot of cards in his hand, most likely a lot of damage on his hand. Let's take a little peek, see what he's got. Very good. Abandoned Supplies seems like a good pick there, because why wouldn't you play Abandoned Supplies early in the game? But he goes for the healing, which I didn't see as one of the cards that wasn't included in there. So we'll just have to wait it out. We'll take our chances, create a seal, and then I think we'll throw down Kel. No, we heal up with some shield. That's what we're gonna do. Do want to keep it close. If that forces him to play a tactic before he attacks, or attack and then throw a tactic, that's the way it's got to be. Malcador Sigil is also very nice for Rubio, especially because you can play it, give him shield, and then play a Psionic Fury or two that increases his attack, and then he can do 6 attack to take out a high cost or high attack vehicle, high health vehicle. But because he's got shield, he doesn't take any damage from it. We're just going to wait it out. You might say, well, why not just go for the 3 and risk losing 3? Because half of it is a mind game. If it's preventing him from playing one of 3 cards. He hasn't played that Manifest Destiny this turn. Finally plays the Abandoned Supplies. And then he suffers from it. Now, instead of doing 3, I'm doing 8. I did the 5 for my ability, as well as 3 here. I end up taking just the 5. But I'm still up. And it's the threat of him preventing playing Manifest Destiny out the gate. Maybe he'll play next turn. Maybe he thinks he has a next turn. Maybe he doesn't. Are we getting him low on health? We're going to throw down some threats. And as long as he doesn't have anything too crazy, I think we're going to be okay. But it's just a matter of playing that. And that's one of the powers of mid-range decks, really, is they play how they need to without going too extreme one or the other. If they need to turtle up a little bit, they can play conservatively. If they need to rush, they've got tools that allow them to do that. Do burst damage, do max damage, have a strong finish, either which way. That's the power of mid-range. And that's really how it works out. Just having conservative plays when you need it, smart plays when you need it, aggressive plays when you need it. This deck really can do a lot. So, taking a look at cards that I have had in, or you could put in and make changes to. You could certainly put in a classified assignment just to give yourself some extra seals. It draws cards. There's nothing wrong with that, but I find that Rubio creating seals as a battle honor worked fine for me. I also found that Administrative Archives was too costly for the ability. I think it might work in some other decks, but for Rubio, who may already want to spend 1 energy to create a Psionic Fury, Administrative Archives is pretty costly for the 2. It creates a seal, that's great, but that's 2 energy. I can't do anything if I play it on 2 energy, and then on the next turn I use Rubio's ability in the Archives. I'm not getting anything else. I also found Execution Force is not something that I want for Rubio, for the simple fact that, honestly, I want them to play their troops because I want to be able to destroy them, whether it's with Kel, whether it's with Rubio, whether it's with Bror. That's how I'm getting my seals. So I don't want to get rid of their troops right out the gate. You can pass on that for him. As I said, you could throw in Keeler, but if you put in Keeler, you may want to reconsider the amount of stealth troops that you've got. I have a higher number of stealth troops that I'm going to emphasize and utilize, but if you're going more with the standard troops or Alta Nohai, maybe some of them are the frontline guys, then yeah, Euphrates Keeler is your best bet to go. Palatial Intrigue is one of those cards that is in the deck that is kind of a fringe. Like, this is probably a card I could change and I wouldn't miss, but there have been some games that has been very nice and useful. This card here copies a tactic that your opponent has played. This game, you get choice of 3, and it costs 3 less. Late game, that's pretty nice. Even mid game, that can be pretty nice. But it doesn't work every game, and sometimes I just want to play a troop instead. I didn't like Cursed Wanderer. That's too expensive for the deck here. The thing with the deck here, if you take a look at the curve, it's very low. It's 2 cost and 3 cost. That's not by accident. Because Rubio's creating those Psionic Furies are 2 energy. So if I have a lot of 2 energy cards in my hand, I can play a lot of 2 energy cards at the end game. If we get to 8, I can play 4 2 energy cost cards. Maybe they're Psionic Furies, maybe they're troops, maybe it's 2 3 cost troops and 2 2 cost troops. Whatever it is, it allows me to play more options as opposed to just having a higher cost. I can play Cursed Wanderer and that's it. I can play Bodvar or Arvida and that's it. Those just don't work well. Whereas the Calexis Assassin, it's a high cost card. It's only used if you need it as a closer, if you want to throw the threat down here. What is nice, we didn't get to see it in the replays, but she's got this while she's on the table. If you hover over her ability, it'll actually tell you how many tactics there are in the enemy's hand. So at the very least, if they don't have any tactics, or if they have 1 tactic in their hand, but you've already seen it because you played something like Covert Operative, then there's no point in playing or using her ability unless it's like an Apotheosis, which I've done, and that was really fun because they knew I saw the Apotheosis. It's like, you can play Apotheosis, you're going to heal 6, and then I'll attack you for 9. Or you don't play the Apotheosis, and I'm going to use Calexis, and I'm going to do 10. So either way, I win. But you put in Doombringer. Doombringer is a good deck good card to include. I also, for a while, was playing with Inner Sanctum, because this is just an additional card that lets you look at the enemy's hand and puts a card of it back. Plus, you get a draw card. But I think there's been some issues with bugging on this card or the coding, so there's a higher chance of them redrawing the card that they just put in their deck. So I'm holding off on playing this, but I do think that this could easily go in place of the Palatial Intrigue. Inner Sanctum is a very nice card. Hand knowledge is key. And then Doombringer, I mentioned could go in the deck. Orders from Terra, again, you could throw that in the deck as well. If you really want to, you could throw in a Pi Alpha because he is, with Rubio being your workhorse, he's potentially stunnable. So having a way to remove stun is not a bad option. And then also, I would probably say, I don't know. I mean, maybe. Honestly, I think that's really your better ways to go. If you're looking for anything else, it's because you don't have enough of the cards. then just take the best options you've got. Don't take abandoned supplies. Your deck is low cost already, but maybe Mortar Strike might be a good addition to add. Or maybe in place of Doombringer, you don't have Doombringer, so you throw down a Chimu because it saves your guys from poison, which is nice because if your opponent poisons your stealth troops, you can remove the poison off them. So that's something to think about. That's one way to go about it. That is Rubio, guys. That is Tylos Rubio. He's been very fun to play. Very good mid-range warlord. Plays Agents of the Sigillite in a fun way. He engages with your opponent, but he also engages with their mind. He engages with your deck. I had a lot of fun playing him, and I hope this has inspired you to give him a try and try him out, because because he's worth it. It's the Agents of the Sigillite is not just all about Iota. I mean, I played enough of her in the event. I might play her at some point, but I've really had a lot more fun with Malcador and Rubio. And Rubio's got a better win rate than Malcador, but it took me about 20 games to find a good Malcador deck that I'm feeling good about, and I'll be sharing that with you guys soon too. So hopefully this has been good and entertaining and worth the subscription. If you have subscribed to the channel, if you haven't, please do, or like the video. And till next time, guys, keep playing Legions, and we'll talk to you later.